Okay, so these normally come kind of loosely braided. There's always this rubber band at the top. Try not to break that. And there's usually a rubber band at the bottom. As you can see, this hair is really quite rough and actually really close to medieval texture because they didn't have conditioners and shampoos and stuff like we do. They used a lye base, most of them. So their hair was kind of crap all the time. So if you're looking for medieval texture, this is probably what you want. Blech. So leave the rubber band at the top. This is my control point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back comb and braid this section and tie it off. And then I'm going to come back and clip this and pick up the braid where I left off and back comb and braid this section. I'm going to do it like this because it needs to go all the way around that mannequin head. So, you know, good times, fun. So I'm going to be right back because I'm going to set up Barbie's head again so that I can anchor this to her so I can show you what I'm going to do. Hang on. Okay. Normally, when I do this at home, by the way, I put this little rubber band or I tie a piece of ribbon to here and I put it over a doorknob because, you know, fun times. So with your hand, please don't use a comb or a brush on this. You want to give it a little bit of floof because we want as much fullness in this as possible. And again, if you have super curly hair and a lot of it, mazel tov. Most of us don't. So, and I want to do a pretty loose braid for a little bit. And then I want to take my fingers down and I want to actually kind of back comb that up a little bit. Smooth out the rough parts that are going to show. Do another big braid, right? Take this, kind of back comb it a little bit again. Do a pretty loose braid. Back comb it again. And another pretty loose braid. Right? And then, and don't worry about the super messy parts. So I've got some body in there, but this is pretty loose and it's going to work itself pretty loose as well. So what I really want to do is get just a little bit more out of it. So what I did was I grabbed one chunk of the braid and pushed it up so that I get that super fullness. But now I have one piece that's a little bit thinner. So I'm going to add some hair from another chunk into it. And we're going to do the same thing. Take a piece of it and fluff it up. And the nice thing about doing this on the synthetic hair is you don't have somebody screaming at you that you're pulling on their hair too much or whatever. Beauty is pain. No, it should, by the way, it should never hurt. It should never hurt when you go into a hairdresser. It should, you know what I mean? Like, if your hairdresser is hurting you, stop seeing that hairdresser. So I'm going to bind this end off. Now I'm going to double it up and let it loop over like this. See what I did there? Okay. We'll go on to side 2. Again, somewhat equal parts. I forgot what I was doing. Again. Okay. Loose braid. Couple of plaits. Tuck it up a little bit. Do some more back combing. Loose braid. Now, if you like just the way this looks and not the super fluffier one, that's fine too. I'm just going for a different look. So I'm going to take 2 sections of my braid and put it in this hand. And I'm going to take this section and I'm going to take the 2 sections of braid and push them up the other section so I get a little bit more fullness in my braid, right? But now I have 2 smaller sections. So I'm going to take my bigger section and I'm going to take a little bit of it and add it to this section. I'm going to plait that over. I'm going to take a little bit of it and add it to the other section. I'm going to plait that over, or braid it over, push that one up a little bit. So I've got nice, big, fat plaity plaits. And again, we're gonna, and people, you know, plaits, braids, there are 9 million terms for them. Don't worry about it. Call it what you want. Call him Bob. Steve's a good friendly name. Whatever you want. Okay. So I'm gonna undo, maybe, if Barbie decides to give it up. She's kind of a pain in the ass. I used to have clients like this. I don't anymore. I fired all of them. Okay. So now I have my big braid with my big stupid rubber band in the middle, which we're now going to get rid of. Be right back. Okay. So I cut it out, and as you can see, it kind of doesn't matter. That's the space that the rubber band was in. Dun, 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 dun. So now we're going to take her hair and with 1 or 2 bobby pins, pin this in place. And in this case, because we don't want the bobby pins to show in the front, we're going to do it from the back, which I should probably flip her around and show you. So my cornet braid is under there somewhere. And I'm going to push this in from the back and make sure I get part of the cornet braid. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Da-da-da. Now, I have some theories about Byzantine styles where they have those big, huge head things on that people think are head rolls. I kind of think that they might actually, some of them might have actually been hair pieces with stuff rolled into them. It's kind of one of those things that, like, I need to do a little bit more research on and figure out. Okay, so I have her pretty well anchored, but now as you can see in the front, sorry, drunk Barbie, there's pieces of her. Now, if this matched her own hair or your own hair, it wouldn't matter that those braids were there, but it doesn't. So we're going to use hairpins, put them in, turn them around, pin them in place. I'll do it with a big one so you can see that on this side, right? Hairpin. Put the hairpin in the opposite direction I want it to go, bend it around, pin it in place. Dun-dun-dun. Pin that pit up. The nice thing about using synthetic hair as opposed to human hair for hair pieces is they're a heck of a lot lighter. And I suffer from headaches, so I don't like wearing big heavy things on my head, which is why I tend to wear my finished cornet for everything because it's really lightweight. So there you go. Dun, dun, dun. So as you can see, quite big, quite fluffy. Look, braid showing, braid showing, braid showing. Braid down, people. We have braid down. Just kidding. We don't. I get a little punch happy when I haven't slept, which is what's been going on recently. I don't know, stress. So there's your big braid on top of your cornet braid. The other thing you can do is take 2 or 3 of these if you want a much neater braid and braid all of those together to get that. And like I said, these come in a gazillion colors. Star Wars. I even got some to match mine. For Star Wars shipping. I don't know, maybe SCA. We'll see. Could be fun. So, and then I'm going to show you how to anchor braids and buns to her head in the next one.